As-salaam wa-alaikum, brothers and sisters. Welcome to Year 6 of the 17 Verses podcast. I'm your host, Maher Haq. In this podcast, we take a small selection from the Quran every day and recite it to you in plain English, so you can get a small slice of God's Word while you go about your day. By averaging 17 verses per day, we're able to break the Quran down into manageable pieces and finish it in 1 year. If you enjoy the podcast, please help spread the word. Tell your friends and family, subscribe in iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you get your podcasts, and write us a review. Show notes and a text episode can be found at 17verses.com. That's the numbers 17verses.com. Today's selection is from Surah 22, Al-Hajj, or the Pilgrimmage, verses 26 through 38. These verses talk of how Prophet Ibrâhim built the Kabah and called all to come for pilgrimage. The verses also speak of the good of sacrificing animals in Allah's name and how only your piety, not the blood or meat of the animals, reaches God. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Remember, we identified the site of the sacred house to Ibrahim, or Abraham, saying, "Worship none besides me. Sanctify my house for those worshippers who walk around it, stand in prayer, bow, and prostrate themselves. And, Ibrahim, make a proclamation of Hajj or pilgrimage to mankind. They will come to you on foot, lean on camels, from every distant quarter, so that they may witness the benefits which are made available here for them, and pronounce the name of Allah over the cattle which we have provided as food for them on the appointed days. Eat then of their meat yourselves and feed the indigent, having a very hard time. Then they should accomplish their needful acts, fulfill their vows, and go for tawaf of the ancient house." That means to circumambulate the house. This was the object for which the Kabah was built, and whoever honors the sacred rites of Allah, it is good for him in the sight of his Lord. The meat of cattle is lawful for you, except what has already been mentioned to you. Therefore, shun the abomination of idols, and shun all false statements. Dedicate yourselves to Allah, and do not commit falsehood with Him. For anyone who commits falsehood, it is as though he had fallen from the sky, his body snatched away by birds or carried away by the wind to some far-off place. So it is. And he who honors the rites of Allah surely knows the piety of his hearts. You may benefit from the cattle dedicated for sacrifice until the time of their slaughter. Then their place of sacrifice is near the ancient house. For every nation we prescribed a way of sacrifice, so that they may pronounce the name of Allah over the cattle which He has given them for food. But the object is one and the same, to remember that your God is only one God. So submit yourselves to Him as Muslims, and, O Prophet, give good news to the humble, whose hearts tremble at the mention of Allah, who endure adversity with patience, who establish prayers and spend in charity out of what we have provided for them. We have made the sacrifice of camels and cows among the rites of Allah, for there is much good for you in them. Therefore, pronounce the name of Allah over them while standing, and when they fall down on their sides after slaughter, when their movement completely stops, then eat of their meat. Feed the contented, the poor who do not ask, and the beggars, the poor who ask. Thus have we subjected them to you, so that you may be grateful. It is neither their meat nor their blood that reaches Allah. It is your piety that reaches Him. Thus He has subjected these animals to you, so that you may glorify Allah for giving you guidance. And, O Prophet, give good news to the doers of good. Surely Allah wards off evil from those who are true believers, for certainly Allah does not love anyone who is treacherous or ungrateful. Ameen. This concludes today's episode of the 17 Verses podcast. I hope that this selection helps increase your understanding of the Holy Quran just a little bit. If you like the podcast, you can subscribe in iTunes or Stitcher and write us a review. Or you can grab the RSS feed and put it into your own podcast app. The show notes, including a text version of this episode, can be found by going to 17verses.com. That's the numbers 17verses.com. Thank you, and be well.